So in the 70s, there was this kid named Satoshi Tajiri who liked catching bugs and watching a kid show named Ultraman. He also liked the arcade, but there was no video game media in his area, so in 1983, he made Game Freak magazine. Sound familiar? Well, this business started taking off, with its best issue selling upwards of 10,000 copies. One man who bought a copy of Game Freak magazine was Ken Sugimori, who in the future will become the main art designer of Pokemon. Ken liked the magazine so much he got in touch with Satoshi saying, "Hey, wanna do a thing?" And Satoshi was like, "Sure." So they became best friends and Ken started illustrating for Game Freak magazine. But then, Game Freak magazine got shut down, but the bromance, it was there. But one day, they say, "Hey, these games are all really similar. What could we do different?" And boom, they got in touch with some programmers who read Game Freak magazine and started talking about making a game. But Satoshi went home. He saw it was different. No place to catch bugs like he used to. Nowhere to woods to explore. Well, what if they made a bug catching game? Or maybe a game where you travel around catching creatures? Maybe monsters for your pocket? His idea couldn't come into fruition until 1989, when the original Game Boy was announced. The link cable the Game Boy used sounded perfect for his idea of catching and trading monsters. And finally, when he saw the success of Final Fantasy Legend, he knew his RPG would cook. In 1990, the production of Pokemon, or the first named Capsule Monsters, officially began. Even a booklet was created visualizing the original concepts for the game. But struggling to get the trademark made them change the names to Pocket Monsters, which is eventually shortened to Pokemon. Originally, in the Pokemart you would buy Pokemon, but this was later changed for obvious reasons. There was also an idea of trading multiple lower tier Pokemon for a higher tier Pokemon. The idea of a charisma stat and the ability to talk to and bargain with opposing trainers. There was also an idea to sell your Pokemon for gold, which was assigned to each Pokemon based off of rarity. Also, gold was the currency that was used before UN. There was also the idea for a female protagonist, but this was scrapped until Pokemon Crystal. And finally, gold stats, gold values, and buying and selling Pokemon were removed because Satoshi decided to treat the Pokemon more like friends instead of tools/pets. With that idea, they decided to make their game more of a Pokemon collection-based game than the traditional RPG style. After their idea was fleshed out, they had 151 unique Pokemon, thorough typings, physical and spectral moves, as well as the idea of not very effective and super effective interactions between the types. Once they had finished a majority of the game, they realized they had a problem. How to get people to trade their Pokemon? How do we make it engaging? That's when Daddy Shigeru Miyamoto came down from the sky and told them 2 words. Everyone they asked about their game said it was going to flop. Even Nintendo didn't think it was going to do well, and they didn't even understand how the game was going to be fun. But on February 27th, 1996, Pokemon Red and Pokemon Green were released to Japan with low expectations. But when the game sold 1 million units rapidly, they knew they had cooked. The anime began production, the card game began production. Money was coming in and they knew they had done it. Pokemon Blue was released in October with updated graphics and designs, and Pokemon Red and Blue were chosen to be released in America. See, in Japan, the idea of opposite colors is different than it is in America. In Japan, red and green are opposite colors, but in America, red and blue are the opposite colors. So, they eventually let green lay down to rest and brought blue on to be the counterpart for red. It took quite some time to localize their game, but eventually, they got it done. See, English is a so much bigger language than the original Japanese. Everything in that game was designed for the Japanese. The menus, the text boxes, everything. They weren't planning on localization. So when it came to actually localizing the game, that became a real challenge. They got it done and they released the anime in America as a test precursor. And when that blew up, they knew it was time. On September 28, 1998, Pokemon Red and Blue were released to America. Merchandise was created, quadrupling the sales revenue of the game, making Pokemon the highest grossing media franchise ever. Soon, Pokemon Yellow came out to encourage anime lovers to play as Ash and Pikachu, including more graphical updates, full color spectrums, animated sprites, and Jessie and Jane. In 1999, people were storming stores to get their hands on the newest and greatest Pokemon media. In just 5 years, Pokemon Mania was in full effect. After the release of Gold and Silver, Satoshi Tajiri said bye-bye and Junichi Masuda was brought on to lead the project. Then, Crystal came out, being another success. Then a new Nintendo system came out, the Game Boy Advance, spawning in Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Year by year, Pokemon kept releasing new generations, merch, cards, side games, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. Then the DS came out, spawning in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Black and White 2. Then the 3DS, causing X and Y, Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. then the Switch! It goes on and on, causing Pokemon to grow and grow, becoming the international success that it is. From rags to riches, the Pokemon Project really came a long way. Thank you for watching, please subscribe. This took a while.